Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Maurice, the sports historian, back again with another video. And as of yesterday night, the NBA Finals has officially concluded. The Boston Celtics won the NBA Finals 4-1 and are the 2024 NBA champions. So congratulations to the Boston Celtics. Congratulations to all the players, all the coaches, the coaching staff, the front office, etc. I'm just going to be giving my thoughts on the series, some of the things that I noticed during the series, some of the things that I liked, talking about a few of the players, etc. You know that you get the gist of these videos. I made one similar last year when the Denver Nuggets won, and so obviously I'm going to make one when, the Celtics win. Starting off with the Finals MVP, the voters voted Jaylen Brown as the Finals MVP. Gotta say, I think that he definitely deserved this award. It was a toss-up between him and Jason Tatum, and I feel like although there was an argument for both of them, I feel like Jaylen Brown had the stronger case. When you look at Game 1, how he performed, when you look at Game 3, when both him and Tatum went off in the third quarter, and then when you got to the fourth, Tatum kind of tapered off, and then they kind of leaned on Jaylen Brown a little bit more to get them that victory. And then obviously he didn't have the best showing in Game 5, but I still think that his overall consistency in the series, and just some of the highlight plays he made, he got like two posters, I think, and he tried a third one in Game 5. He didn't get it, but yeah, Jaylen Brown, he played phenomenal, and don't want to take anything away from him. I absolutely think that he deserved to be the Finals MVP for this championship run, for this Finals. Absolutely deserved. One of the things that I saw immediately after was, I don't know if you guys remember, I'll put the tweet up, but I think it was right before Jaylen Brown got drafted. He said that one of his teachers would look him up in the Cobb County Jail, and hey, now his teacher can look him up in NBA history books as the Finals MVP. So congratulations to Jaylen Brown, absolutely. Moving on to Jason Tatum. He was, I don't want to say he was great during this Finals because he simply wasn't, but I do think that he had a good enough showing. Again, I think it was a toss-up between him and Jaylen Brown for Finals MVP. Obviously, as a Jason Tatum fan, I wouldn't have complained if they'd given the award to Jason Tatum, but again, Jaylen Brown definitely deserved that award. So again, congratulations to Jaylen Brown, 100% deserved. Don't want to take anything away from him. But talking about Jason Tatum, it was just it was confusing. This is a very confusing series from Jason Tatum. Obviously, you go and look at that conference finals, him averaging a 30-point double-double into now averaging what I think it was 22 a game on the series through 5 games, and he shot abysmally. He shot, I think, 39% from the floor, which is well below his standards. I don't really have anything super negative to say. Obviously, the jumper just wasn't there, and if the jumper's not there, all they really have to do is clog the paint and make it difficult for him to score in the paint, and that's what we saw through those first few games. They made it very difficult for Jason Tatum to score in the paint, which is why he ended up averaging so many assists. I think he averaged like 7 assists on the series or something like that, well above his season averages. But what I can say is that he played phenomenal defense throughout the entire series, which is a plus, I guess. It's a plus because you saw that the game plan for the Celtics defensively, it revolved a lot around Jason Tatum guarding 1 through 5. He had some success basically everywhere. The Mavericks weren't able to get very many lobs. I think they had like maybe 5 total through the 5 games, maybe like 6 or 7, but compared to how many they had versus the Timberwolves, obviously the Celtics shut that down, basically neutralized it, and made it not a factor in the Mavericks offensive game plan. and a lot of that has to do with Jason Tatum guarding 1 through 5. He did pretty well on all of his matchups. You can like look at early on in a bunch of those games where he was guarding Luka. Luka was getting his shots off, but Luka always is going to do that. He's going to get his shots off anyway. What I was really looking forward to, or not looking forward to, but what I was really looking for was the effort on the defensive end and for him to continue to attack whoever he was guarding defensively. I can say that if you watch this series in its entirety, you'll notice like, yo, Jason Tatum's playing very good defense. Not only Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown played exceptional defense. He was a lot of the times Luka's primary defender, and I think that he took that matchup extremely personally. There was a point in Game 5 where they were coming back off of a timeout, and they got like mic'd up, and Jaylen Brown was talking to Coach Joe Mazzulla, and he said, yo, if Luka's staying in the game, I'm staying in the game. And he said something along the lines of, if he passed that ball, he's not getting it back. You want the ball, bring it up. And so obviously we saw Jaylen Brown taking that matchup extremely serious, taking it extremely personal, and it worked out for their favor because Jaylen Brown played phenomenal defense on Luka Doncic. I'd say he was the best defender for Luka during this entire series, which is saying a lot because they have superior guard talent defensively in Jrue Holiday, in Derek White. Shit, he played better defense on Luka than Tatum did, I think. And that's, again, that's not saying that's not a slouch. That's not a slouch at all. So just the defensive effort from not only Tatum but Jaylen Brown for the entire team. This entire team was locked in defensively, and you could see that throughout the entirety of their playoff run. This team took defense extremely seriously, and that was one of the things that I would harp on them about was, you know, hey, this team has the talent to be a force defensively, and in the regular season that's exactly what they were. They were the second ranked defense, but it was just like consistency, and that was from years past, obviously playoff experience in years past, saying like, hey, these guys, they sort of lack discipline on that defensive end. If they can continue to be disciplined and make a concerted effort to be consistent defensively, then they wouldn't have any problems. And I mean, shit, they didn't have any problems. Look at the series. They won in 5 games, which I correctly predicted, by the way. And a big part of it was due to their defense, because offensively, there were nights where just no one looked very, I don't want to say no one looked like competent, but there were just nights where you could tell that it was going to be a team effort offensively. Again, Jason Tatum struggled from the floor damn near the entire series. He had a fantastic Game 5. He started off like 0 of 4 and then finished the game with like 11 points in the fourth. I think he had like 31, something like that. So yeah, everyone played to their strengths. This team did exactly what I thought they would do, and which was clamp up defensively, and it worked out in their favor. So again, congratulations to the Boston Celtics. Speaking about guys clamping up defensively, I can't talk about this Celtics run without talking about Jrue Holiday and Al Horford respectively. Jrue Holiday, man, what an acquisition for the Celtics. It felt like when they picked him up, I can't remember if it was before or after the Porzingis trade when they picked him up, but it felt like that was like, yo, this team is just stacked to the brim. And obviously they were. You look at Jrue Holiday's performances in, I think, games 1 and 2. There was one game where he had like 28 off straight layups. Shit was insane, and you don't really get very many players of that value to just fall in your lap like Jrue Holiday did. So I think the real finals MVP is the Celtics front office. Brad Stevens is phenomenal. He fleeced every single one of the teams that he traded with in the past like 3 years, whether that be acquiring Derek White or acquiring Jrue Holiday, especially acquiring Kristaps Porzingis, because they barely gave up anything for that. We'll talk about Porzingis a little bit in a moment, but yeah, man, Brad Stevens, I tip my cap to you, because that's how you GM. I wish I had a GM like Brad Stevens. Unfortunately, I don't. But we're not going to spend too much time talking about. We're just going to move on from that. Al Horford. I'm so happy for Al Horford to be getting his first NBA championship. I'm 22 years old, and I fell in love with the 2010s NBA. Al Horford was obviously a big factor in those 2010s days with the Hawks, and it means something to me to see his career trajectory. As you know, he was primarily a post player in when he was with the Hawks, and he was a pretty decent he was a pretty decent scorer when he was with the Hawks as well. But to see him transition his game into taking on more of a defensive role, adding the three ball to his game, making it work for him, it really really warms the heart to see such a hard worker like Al Horford win his first NBA championship. So congratulations to Mr. Al Horford as well. Moving on to talk about Luka and Kyrie, I'm gonna keep my thoughts on the Mavericks brief. Just gonna stick to both Luka and Kyrie, maybe a few other tidbits as well. But Luka, he played very well. He played well during this finals. I think he averaged like 30 or something. One of the concerns that I had was that I wasn't sure whether his three would be there. And if you watch the last three games of the series, it wasn't. He was like 1 for his last 20 or so. It was just a point where he was just consistently chucking and breaking threes. Some of that had to do with the defense being played on him. Again, Al Horford played pretty good defense, as good as defense as you want your big man playing on somebody like Luka Doncic. But the three ball wasn't there, and you can say that for the entirety of the Mavs. I don't want to look at the Mavericks shooting splits, particularly from three, because Kyrie went 2 games without making a three. I think the only person to make multiple threes in those first 2 games was Luka. So hey, listen, it wasn't there, and it obviously hindered them because they were only able to take 1 game in the series. During that 1 game, it was raining threes. They beat the fuck out of the Celtics during that 1 game. I think it was like a 40-point blowout, which is just makes this NBA Finals a little bit more confusing, if it already wasn't confusing as hell, because we had lackluster performances from Tatum. We had lackluster performances at times from Jaylen Brown. Luka looked to be consistent, but if you watch the series, during those third and fourth quarter stretches, the Celtics played really good defense on him, made it very hard for him to score. We had a basically an abysmal finals performance from Kyrie, which we'll get into in a little bit. And overall, it was just not the most it for sure was the least competitive final series that we've seen during this 2010s, and probably one of the least competitive I've watched in my basketball viewing experience. I don't know where this would rank in terms of like least competitive of all time, because then you have to think of some of those 2000 Lakers championships. You got to think about both of you got to think about both of the Warriors championships when they had KD. Even last year, we saw the Heat take a game off of the Nuggets home court. So if you want to throw that in there, I guess. But yeah, it was not a very competitive finals, and in my opinion, it's one of the least entertaining finals that I've ever watched as well. That's not taking anything away from the Celtics, because a championship is a championship. I'm pretty sure they don't give a fuck what anybody thinks at this point. There was a Jordan Brand commercial, a Jason Tatum Jordan Brand commercial, directly following the final buzzer for the fourth quarter. So yeah, I don't really think that the Celtics care what anybody thinks of their playoff run or anything like that. Going back to Kyrie, it really hurt to see him struggle so bad, especially because he's only had 1 win against the Celtics since he's left the Celtics, and it came in that game 4? It came in that game 4 win. But man, it was bad. It was bad. It wasn't even like he was taking particularly bad shots. It was the same shots that Kyrie always takes. They weren't going in. So definitely going to need a little bit of retooling from the Mavericks. But all hope is not lost. Again, they took a game off of the Celtics. Not only that, but they took a game off the Celtics on the road, in which previously the Celtics were undefeated on the road in this entire playoff run. I think they went 16-3 in general. Yeah, because they lost 1 game. They lost 1 game to the Heat. They lost 1 game to the Cavs, and then they lost that 1 game to the Mavericks on the road. So they were how many away games did they play? Was it would it have been 8? I think it would have been 8 because I don't know, but they only lost 1 game on the road. So again, all hope is not lost. The Mavericks still have Luka Doncic, they still have Kyrie under contract, and they still have fantastic pieces. They have Derek Lively, they have Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr. Obviously, you're going to want to supplement some shooting because the amount of, or rather the lack of shooting from this Mavericks team during the finals was apparent, and it was one of the reasons why I gave them a very small chance of winning this series anyway, just because you're going up against a team in the Boston Celtics who they might not be the most efficient individually, but they're gonna put those 3-point shots up, and you just simply have to match that. You have to. You can't go up against a team like the Celtics who's just making it rain from 3 and not have your threes falling. That's how you have a series like this one where it's not very competitive in any of the games. It wasn't very competitive in any of the games. I will say, though, in that game 3, the Mavericks did manage to erase a 20-point deficit and get it to, like, I think it was within 3 at one point during the fourth quarter. So, again, I would have liked to see the series be more competitive. I think that the best matchup for the Celtics probably would have just been the Nuggets, strictly because their offense is much more well-oiled than the Mavericks, than the Timberwolves. I think they had the best offense just in general throughout the teams that were in the Western Conference side of the playoffs. So, yeah, it wasn't very competitive. I watched every single game anyway, just because I'm a basketball fan, and I wasn't gonna. Well, no, I take that back. I watched every single game. When the Mavs took that 30-point lead against the Celtics, I definitely turned that game off because I was like, all right, I see what's happening here. This fucking game is over, and I just didn't want to watch that. I'm gonna be honest. So overall, my opinion on the series was that it was not a very enjoyable watch. Part of that had to do with it being not competitive, and also a good chunk of that had to do with ESPN/ABC's presentation. I don't know what / the NBA. I don't know what is going on at ESPN or at ABC or in the NBA headquarters, but like we're so far gone from what the presentation of the NBA Finals used to be. This presentation was absolutely horrible. I didn't tune into a single one of the halftime shows, and that's a portion of this finals which I think a lot of people noticed was like, yo, this kind of some bullshit what we be getting. Not in terms of the basketball product on the court, but like the presentation. There was like 6 fucking YouTube TV ads on the court, and they were on there digitally. They weren't on the actual court like decals. Speaking of, why the fuck didn't we get any like decals actually on the court? You mean to tell me that you had a new court for every single team for the in-season tournament, but we couldn't get decals for the finals on the court? I don't know. It was very, very, very poorly produced in my opinion, and I actually have a video in the works in the future talking about some of my gripes that I have with ESPN/the NBA, and I don't know when that'll be coming out, but that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys enjoy sports content or content similar in nature to this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, as well as turning on post notifications so that you get notified every time that I post a video. It's been Maurice, the sports historian, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.